You will not believe I've done a CPR online. So there was a patient who collapsed. A son called me. He was crying in distress that his father was very, very fine, just had fever in the morning, and by afternoon he suddenly collapsed at home. They have called the ambulance, it's on the way. But they got my number from the, I don't know, maybe outside Google, I don't know from where they got my number. They called me, they said, it's really bad. Can you help us in any way, ma'am? So I told him the best you can do, put him flat, go down on your knees and start chest compression. Told him to check for pulse. He told me very, very feeble. I can just feel maybe some thump in my fingers. I told him put him flat and start go on his chest and pump as hard as you can. So if I transfer the audio to video call, it takes time. And for the heart and the brain, a few minutes are enough to kind of give way. So till the ambulance comes, I told him do not stop. How much ever tired you are, don't get up and give up. Start the compression. Alhamdulillah, he did the compression. The ambulance came. There was pulse. By then, we revived him and things settled down. So these things, I say telemedicine is life-saving at the nth minute. If there's nothing, all you can do, at least you can call the doctor. I'm Dr. Haleema Yezdani. I'm a general physician and diabetologist with around 20 years of experience. Around 9 years or 8 to 9 years, I've been in the field of telemedicine. I've done my masterclass in digital health. I'm one of the future 50 clinical leaders in telehealth, globally recognized by HIMSS. I'm the ambassador of Telemedicine Today Karnataka India chapter and the ambassador of Global Telehealth Exchange. I'm also the director of Benfa Healthcare Project, which is a part of Benfa, which is an NGO in Bangalore, that is Bangalore Friends Alliance. And I'm also the director of Women Empowerment for World Peace Organization. I represent Karnataka India in that sector. And for my role in telemedicine, I have been, I have received around 14 awards so far. And 2 or 3 are still on the way. In the month of August, I've been invited for further more awards for the same. So basically, I believe that the reach of telemedicine is far and wide. And the same amount of reach we cannot get in in-person consultations. And definitely, there is no replacement for real-time consultation. But I'm sure both can go hand in hand to make the people, have a great and healthy lifestyle. So in my Karnataka entrance, I ranked enough to get a seat, free medical seat in Bijapur. So I am from Alamin Medical College. I got a seat over there. And first question was going far away from home. But then in the long phase, if I thought about being a doctor, that is what my father wanted to be always. And he wanted me to serve the people who are, in distress and who would need medical attention and might not be able to get that. So keeping that in mind, keeping his goals in mind, and my own inclination towards medical field, I decided I'll move ahead. So the journey began. So initially when I started, maybe 6 months, I took around 6 months to get used to the place, used to my, being away from home and all that stuff. But then once friends became family, things became more easier. So once I finished my MBBS, again question started, what is the next step ahead? So came back to Bangalore and same time had some, I would say, family issues and some issues at the domestic front, which had to be sorted out. Then I was thinking about venturing out for a PG seat and all that. But again, I did get MD and other PG seats on entrance basis. But that time, we did have some domestic issues wherein I could not move out of the family again and stay outside the family. It had to be that I had to be in Bangalore. So getting a PG seat in Bangalore that time was really a dream come true, which never happened. So then I started looking at options. I started working, in fact. I ventured out and got my first ever job in Krishna Devaraya Hospital, that is near Sir MVIT campus. So I worked there as a casualty medical officer. That was the first job of my life. So I spent 1 year over there trying to figure out what to do and how to plan things. Then I moved over to Sagar Hospital, Tilak Nagar, wherein I worked as a resident there, in the ward resident. That time, Sagar was one of the first corporate hospitals to come up in Bangalore. So we luckily had the very pleasure of working with all great doctors over there. The consultants who were working above us, we were the ward residents that time. So they were all so encouraging and so helpful that we also dreamt one day, to be in their shoes or be like them or work like them. So that is when I think that hunger for working more and the hunger for achieving something in life came up. So I was teamed up with Dr. Krishna after that, who's a neurosurgeon in Apollo now. So he also helped me a lot during my journey. There was Dr. Rajkumar, who's again a neurosurgeon. I would say the next step for me was to be a intensivist. In fact, I did my fellowship in intensive care through Apollo Hospital. And after that, I ventured out to Saudi Arabia after marriage. So again, a personal twist in life. I moved out of country. I worked in Almana Hospital, Hafuf, for a period of around, say, 6 years as an intensive care doctor. So that was again a routine job, I mean, as an ICU doctor, I see my ICU patients. We had aggressive management intubation. I used to do all the central line insertions. It was a very, I would say, a thrilling and very active kind of a job. It was really very good. But then again, I had to get back to India, and that time I had some health issues. So it was so bad that I started having vertigo problems, and up to the fact to that I was, uh, I would not be wrong if I say I was little bedridden, maybe for a period of 4 to 5 months, wherein I couldn't get up and walk to far distances. I started having vertigo spells, and investigation of every sort was done, MRI, and everything was done. Everything was normal. So basically, the problem was there was a problem in the internal apparatus of the ear, which secretes the fluid, right? So it was going off in the reverse direction. So each time I would try to stand up and make a move, I was pushed back. So then I decided that no, my career can't go in for a toss. I've worked very hard for this. So I gained my entire whatever I could put positive optimism in life, whatever I could get. Try to work against it. Try to we had exercises, labyrinthine exercises. I put up with that with medications and all of that. Then slowly I started improving. So once I started improving, I knew that getting out to the hospital and venturing out would be a very, very, later stages. Maybe now that as I'm doing, I can do it now. But that time thinking about it was a little tedious, and then I had my child and all that. After that, what happened was the fact of telemedicine, the entire nature of telemedicine kind of intrigued me a lot. So I researched more on the fact of telemedicine, how it can be done, and what is the best possible way to do it. And the initial stages were about doing, I would say, just phone consultations. Nothing was streamlined, Maybe people who knew me called me on the phone, and I had a prescription format. I would write it out to them, take a picture, and then WhatsApp. But later on, I started working more about it, working about the EHR. I came to know about what is EMR, about how the dashboards are created, and how we have to store the prescriptions and the voice recordings, which are very vital in telemedicine consultation. Then the next step was that I did my masterclass in digital health, which helped me a lot to know about digital health and digital medicine. I joined HIMSS, which is a very, very big body in terms of telemedicine and digital health. And I became their committee member in HIMSS Telehealth Committee. So from then, we used to have discourses about how best we can improvise on telemedicine. Then, of course, I started working with companies who were leveraging telemedicine. So I used to have video calls. That time, I got the concept of storing the prescription, the EMR and EHR and the dashboard thing and all that. Then slowly, the entire sequence of doing a CSR activity or helping people. Because basically, you see, if I'm going to go from here or travel to, as you came from Marathalli or somewhere, how long does it take? It takes me 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Then again, even if I see the patient at a stretch for 6 hours, it'll hardly be anything. The same thing, I can say this 2 hours I'm traveling and do the same thing at home and see more amount of patients. I had a few tie-ups with Apollo Telehealth as well. So we used to see patients from Jharkhand. We had patients from Assam, Orissa. These are the periphery of India wherein people wouldn't think of going or doing an in-person consultation. So when we are through National Digital Health Mission and all, we are doing consultations like that. And so basically what happens, the patients over there who are, if you see them on the video call, you would know that they are not aware of the health parameters. They're not aware of basic hygiene. They're not aware of, I would say, what problems could come to them if the lifestyle is not followed in proper way. So educating them was the first thing. Then getting them to get into proper sequence of lifestyle modification is another thing. And giving them the medications and telling them the use of it, helping them to use it, that was another sequence. Then COVID struck. Of course, 2020 was a very bad phase. That, in fact, I would say if anything good happened, it was telemedicine guidelines. We had a proper guidelines in that, like telemedicine, what it can do, what it can't do. The MCI or the NMC, National Medical Council, they gave us a proper format as to what are the rules of telemedicine, and this is how you have to follow it, and this is how you can or can't do it. Prior to that, everything was very haphazard. My colleagues used to call me, what is this? Is it okay? Can we do this and all that? So I would explain to them that as long as you're able to store things for you, your voice recording, that is good for you. So the legalities, everything was a little, we were not sure of it, how best that the consultation can be done in a very good format. So now that the guidelines came up, and once the guidelines came up, it helped us a lot to formulate telemedicine and to do it in a very, very nice way. After this COVID pandemic hit, I teamed up with Project Step One, which is a very, very big organization, big NGO during the COVID-19. They teamed up with Karnataka government to triage and treat COVID-19 home isolation patients. So with them, an emergency response team, Mercy Mission, so all together, and of course my own patients, I think around 7,000 plus patients have in person, through telemedicine treated and triaged the COVID-19 patients. And during the second wave, it was so bad that I don't remember sleeping. People are aware of telemedicine now, they know it's helpful and they're using it. But how to use it and how best to make it sound like a real-time consultation, that is the challenge. All the doctors who are paneled in telemedicine consultation will have to be aware of the guidelines which are there in place now, and they have to follow it completely. Because there are patients who can call us and trick us into prescribing sedatives, anxiolytics. There are patients like that. I've gone through all of that, anxiolytics, sedatives. There are ladies who come up and say, we didn't get a menstrual cycle, so prescribe medicines for that. They'll be actually asking for abortifacients. So doctors have to be aware that they cannot recommend all these things online. So it has to be an in-person consultation. Refer them to an in-person consultation to themselves or someone else. I don't encourage any WhatsApp or direct calls for the patients, because the conversation happens between the two individuals, all right? And the third person might not know it. Supposing I have an issue, a person comes to me and unfortunately something happens. So we don't have any records to fall back on if I'm going on an individual call. So if I'm having or coming through any portal where everything is streamlined, we have everything in place, we have the prescription storage in place, we have the call recording in place, so we know what could have transpired, what has gone wrong, what could have improved and all of that. Usually the telemedicine fees is much lesser compared to real-time consultation because it's not an in-person consultation, that's one, and the traveling bit is saved. So basically the fees is much lesser compared to the real-time ones. The future is bright, very, very bright. So I would encourage all my colleagues, my doctors and even patients alike to go ahead and use and try telemedicine. And especially colleagues, they have to be aware of how they can do it before they do it. So once they plan to go ahead with telemedicine, go in for courses which will guide you with the guidelines and all that in place. And once you are aware and know how to do it, go ahead and practice telemedicine. Patients definitely have to adhere to the follow-up guidelines, because once we give them follow-ups, there are people who do not come for follow-ups. There are people who definitely follow completely. But of course, there are people who do not want to do that. But follow-ups are the key for any kind of consultation. You do it in person, you do it at a telemedicine consultation, anything. But if you have a problem, don't neglect that. Especially diabetes and hypertension, chronic ailments require follow-up on time. If it is not done, you can end up having end organ damage. As you can see now, we're having a lot of cardiac deaths, young cardiac people dying suddenly. So all these things are important that you have basic follow-up. I think I would take the platform to even tell about KK's death. The thing which intrigued me most was he was in a crowd where people were all around. Not one person knew CPR. At least it should have been one person who would have given a chest compression. It would have been life-saving. So importance of knowing basic CPR. I feel we should go ahead and educate everyone for CPR. People should have a basic knowledge of chest compression. It is life-saving for anyone in your family as well. We can have emergency in our family anytime. So people should be aware. Nothing else. Don't do any other stuff. You're not a doctor. Sure. At least chest compression, which is definitely life-saving, should be learned by everyone, one and all. I think +2 is the time enough when they can start learning that front. So we should inculcate in the syllabus about chest compression. Only basic life support. Don't go ahead with advanced stuff. No one can learn it so easily. But how to do a chest compression, even the basic way to do it, what is the first aid to be given to a victim who has collapsed? Nothing else, just chest compression. At least that part should be taught to everyone, I think. No one deserves to die like that, It is really very bad. So I think we should inculcate that. And of course, always call your doctor for anything. Keep in touch with your doctor, even if you don't keep with your friends. So it's very important that you have regular consultations and follow-ups. That's about me from my side for now.